Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Matthew and today we're doing it. We are doing the NECA Godzilla 2024 from the New Empire bootleg. Yeah, unfortunately, this is not a real figure, which I do need to put a little disclaimer that I know some people don't like bootlegs, and I need to stress that I do not support, the constant influx of bootlegs. But the reason I bought this and other bootlegs in the past before is because they appealed to me, and I basically can decide what I want to do with my own money. That being said, I have been supporting Toho for the last several years, and I have been supporting this movie. I went to see the movie twice in theaters, one in regular format, one on Screen X, which is more expensive, by the way. I purchased all of the GXK basic 6-inch figures, and I've been supporting Godzilla official merchandise since 2015, so yeah. But with that out of the way, I want to go ahead and just say that yes, this is not an official figure. It is a bootleg across any sense of the word, and I got mine from AliExpress. I did not get mine with the box, but I did get mine still from Ali. There's like 1,000 different listings, all for different prices, so definitely pick the one that is cheapest for you. But with that being said, let's take a look at my copy. Starting off with the sculpt and paint. The sculpt and paint, well, let's just talk about the sculpt. The sculpt itself is borrowed from the NECA Godzilla, specifically V2 from 2019, and as a result, features actually quite a bit of good sculpt and paint or sculpted details. But the paint itself, well, let's just look at the face. The face features the standard 3 lines we see in the New Empire, and a very pink-like tongue, but does not feature very prominent teeth. In fact, I thought that my copy actually had no teeth on the bottom jaw, and while it does look like that, you can actually kind of see inside there is a bit of pink for the gums, but it's the same paint that they use on the tongue. And there is also quite a bit more on the top of the mouth. However, the paint on the teeth is it's there, but it's so minute. It's honestly not even all that noticeable. I guarantee you probably didn't even notice it until I pointed it out. The eye paint is just a basic white dot, and it's like that on the other side either. And the gills are, at least on this one, I hate to say this, as far as not the application, but where it's supposed to be placed, or the design of the paint, it might be better than the original V2 Godzilla, which I said that. But we have some of the nice kind of black plastic that they use, obviously, for the details. Going on down to the chest region. This is where we kind of start kicking a little bit, because I will say the entire bottom side, it actually has a bit of dry brushing for some silver paint apps over the black plastic, and I have to say it looks phenomenal. Seriously, look at this paintwork. This is actually some really good dry brushing, and even on the chest here, well, there's a small little pink nick right there on the crotch, but it still looks really good with all the dry brushing, and kind of got the pink spray that almost looks like purple thanks to the fact it's mixed in with the black, but it still looks really rock solid. The arm, or so the hands, don't have any paint on the nails, but they aren't really sharp at all, which I was kind of expecting them to be razor sharp, because that's how bootlegs usually are, but there's surprisingly not much sharpage here. But you can kind of see a lot of the ridges and kind of the scaly details go down from the forearm to from here all the way down here, which again, courtesy of the original NECA sculpt, it looks great. And even the 6-pack, actually no, I think that's an 8 or 10-pack. Yikes, Godzilla's been working out some mighty titans. Looks great. Honestly, again, if this was a legit figure, who knows how good or even bad this overall may have actually looked. But as it is right here, it looks really well done. I gotta hand it to the bootleggers. And next, let's talk about the legs. Not much to talk about, but still has the same amount of like detail and all the dry brushing that the rest of the body has. And it honestly looks really great. Like, again, I know this side looks a bit more heavy-handed than this side does, even though this one has like a little bit of a splotch, while this one's like caked in that stuff. It still looks really good. Like, again, even for a bootleg, this looks, I can't believe I'm actually praising the bootleg, but it looks really good. Like, I literally cannot get around how well this looks, especially for like the amount of like detail. You can kind of see all the ridges going down, and even like at the feet, even though the toenails are a bit more blunt than compared to the original version, they still got the detail exactly down. And just to show you guys, the copyright info is still on there. As you can see, there you go, copyright and trademark Toho, NECA 2019, made in China. So, no, it's not an official one. Also, it has the signature peg holes, which I don't think will work. Actually, maybe they will work, because it's about the same size and shape as the original figure. But it still features, again, some great paint apps and sculpting. However, my praises slowly begin to dive when we take a look at the tail. Which, well, okay. Let me just go ahead and say that quality control wise, I had a bit of an issue with mine. It comes out the same way that the original figure did, which was at this segment right here onward that came loose. And you had to attach it in. And actually, looking around me really quick right here, it actually came with a string of instructions that are photocopied right from the original NECA Godzillas. But unfortunately, the socket was too small for the ball joint to fit in, so I remedied that by dipping it in hot water for a longer period of time and warped the plastic so it became a bit more flexible and a bit bigger to fit it in there. So that was the only time, I think, in my entire history where I've actually had a problem with something related to a NECA Godzilla. But back to the tail itself, it features the same sort of sculpted detailing that you see on the original 2019s, obviously decked out in a much more paint application with some white dots over, with some white application over top to kind of give it more of a shiny effect. And honestly, again, it looks good. And even the underside of the tail features that beautiful, beautiful silver dry brushing, even down to the tip of the tail. But I will say, it kind of gets a little iffy once you actually like look at the segment. Like, you can obviously tell where it came out of the box, and there is a bit of a purple pink nick right there, but it still features, again, all the nice ridges and all that amazing detail that you see on the original. So it still looks the part. It's just a bit more bright. And to finally end off the sculpt and paint, we're going to look at the spines, which, again, are the standard KOTM fins. They're not the New Empire fins, which are a lot more thin and a lot more longer than the KOTM fins were. But with that being said, this looks like yogurt. This looks like yogurt. Like as if someone poured yogurt onto this and called it a day. But shockingly, there is actually some white dry brushing, kind of giving it like a much more like what's the term? I guess a more shiny effect, for lack of a better term. But it looks good. Like, this actually looks great. I will say it's a bit iffy, a bit much when it comes all the way down here. But then again, the other NECA Godzillas were like that, and here I am praising those ones, but not praising this one. But what am I really say? Obviously, you got like the standard fins. There's a bit more silver towards the back of the neck and the back of the head, but really the thing that is going to be really catching your eyes is definitely these beautiful dorsal plates. So overall, for sculpt and paint, it's not bad. Like, the sculpting is a bit iffy in some parts, but again, it borrows a figure that had one of the best sculpts from the King of the Monsters movie and actually features some great dry brushing and paint applications. Granted, the application isn't the best, especially when we have paint chippage a bit right here, kind of like right here, and some parts like right here. I'm totally missing that. But it's mostly confined to like one space, at least on my copy. And for what good is here, which I rather focus on, it's not bad. I really dig it. Um, but honestly, that's kind of it for Sculpt and Paint. Next, let's talk about articulation, but I have something else to really bring up. See, we have a bit of an issue with the head. Now, normally on the original, or when you get this thing, the head would plug into the neck on a ball joint. But unfortunately on mine was broken right out of the gate. And not, I didn't even break it myself. It was just broken before I even opened it up because it was all like wrapped up and everything. So it was impossible for me to break it. So maybe it was broken in shipping, maybe it was broken in the factory and they just shipped it off to me anyway. Maybe it was and maybe it wasn't, but either way, I had to go in and glue it so I don't have any head movement and I also don't have much neck movement. I'm confident there is a ball joint in there, but it's because I can get a slight wiggle, but it's so mild it might as well just not even move. And the jaw, it's on a hinge, so you can kind of close it, open it. But here's the problem. Yeah, the hinge on mine is extremely loose, so there's no chance of this thing like permanently remaining shut and actually like holding it and not like it's loose. And I think the reason why is because it's just because of this part. It's a little bit more outwards towards the socket, and I can't push it back in because otherwise that'll break the glue in there. So, unfortunately, that's the way it is, but hey, I can live with that. But the shoulders, they're on ball joints, so they can go up and down, forward and back. They can do all the good stuff that the 2019 could do. This one's a bit more freed up than this one is, but they can still rotate and do all that fun stuff. They are on the elbows are on hinges, but they are not on swivels. And if they are, they're on very tight swivels. And I wouldn't really suggest rotating it, at least on mine, because the hinge is not placed in properly and is actually at an angle. So it can hinge, but it can't swivel. And what you're seeing there is literally the plastic piece twisting. See how the hinge is remaining static? Yeah, there's no rotating that. However, what there is a rotation on is the wrists. The wrists are on very smaller ball joints, but effectively they're just swivels. So we do lose a bit of range when it comes to this. There's no swivel here, but there is a swivel here, but there's no ball joint movement anymore, unlike the original one had. The waist actually has some movement here. You can kind of go side to side a little bit. It's effectively, again, like the wrist, just a swivel. However, I do recommend being careful with it because it will rub into each other, like the fins, if you're not careful. So definitely be worrisome of that. Next, for the hips, we have the same sort of like ball joint like movement that these legs usually have. So we can go pretty much all the way around with it. And we can go a bit out to the side because they aren't like, not disc joints, but they are very disc-like. They're barbell style ball joints that plug into the back of the legs and then can like rotate, shift in and out, all that good stuff. The knees are actually have a bit more range than the original one does, which is weird for me to say, but can actually kind of straighten out about that far, bend it about that far, and can actually rotate a little bit. Although, again, same thing applies. The hinge is actually a seam line right down the middle and will actually, like, lock in itself in and out. So be wary of that. And the foot can kind of move all the way around, swivel, all that good stuff. And from the tail, the base segment here, right here, 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 there, right there where the tip of my thumb is. Oh wow, you're completely missing that. So all the way from here, basically there's 10 segments. There's one there, there, and right here at the tip. So 10 segments. You can get some pretty organic and fluid motion. Although do keep in mind that you're gonna see like some black paint, because it's not like fully painted. It's just they painted it like this and didn't even bother with the black in between. So, but I will say again, this looks great as far as like the posability is. You can go down about that far and kind of go up about that far, to the left about this far, and to the right about this far. So again, lots of good movement with the tail. So as far as articulation goes, it's not bad. You get the same type of posability you got with the originals. And fundamentally, again, there's, even though mine suffered a bit of a QC issue, or QC issue, because I don't imagine bootleggers keeping all that much of QC, it's not bad. But then again, I feel like stuff like this, the head's the only major dud. Everything else is honestly fine and serviceable. Next up, as far as accessories go, he actually does come with a bit of them. Being a bootleg of the Heat Ray V2 Godzilla, he actually comes with the beam effect, which still looks like a Q-tip, except this time it's pink. And mine unfortunately did suffer a bit of bendage, but I mean, that's okay. It's a bit flexible. It's not like hard plastic like the original one was, but it's still decently structurally sound, if that makes any sense. But as you can see, it's got like a nice kind of pink plastic in there. Almost looks like some sort of like strawberry lemonade. Got a nice white tip, and then white tip here at the impact base. And how you put it on has never been simpler. Just, you see those grooves? Those go at the top. Jab those things in between. Make sure the tongue's inside there, and boom. Your Godzilla is shooting the beam. But wait, we also get an impact base, which is also made of the same flexible plastic. All you just got to do is shove that thing in there. And there's no like actual connection like the original one had, but there you go. Godzilla now has the flame effect. I will say that this one has a bit like less consistency when it comes to the various releases that I've seen online. But this one definitely has like a lot of nice like pink and white kind of flair to it. So I will say it's a bit off-putting seeing as how these two different pieces when the original one was kind of flush with the two pieces. But aside from that, this honestly does get the job done pretty nicely. And for the first size comparison, we're just going to immediately start with a size comparison between all of the other 2019s and 2014 figures, with, from left to right, Godzilla 2014, the 2019 V1, V2 Atomic Blast version, and V3 Burning Godzilla, which, as you can see, he looks the part in terms of like the dry brushing and stuff, but I think it's abundantly clear which one's a bootleg, which one's not. And it's also kind of clear that, as far as like accessories go, he kind of wrote off him. So also, just to bust out the accessories, here's a bit of a comparison between the beams. I will be doing a much more in-depth comparison, but just to kind of summarize, even stretched out, the pink beam is slightly shorter than the original one is, and this one's a bit more opaque. It's still translucent. And same kind of deal with the impact bases. There's no contest as far as like which one's the bigger one. The original beats the bootleg version as far as like sheer size and quality goes, but it's still rather comparable. Like, I'm very surprised that these are at all smaller than the original ones were. And here he is next to my other Godzilla Evolved with the 6-inch Playmates basic line and the 7-inch Godzilla Titan Evolution Godzilla Evolved, which, as you can tell, I feel like as if he captures the movie colors better, but these two capture the color, the design better, because his design is much more tucked in, skinnier, and has different shaped dorsal plates along with a thagomizer at the end. But in terms of colors, this one's kind of more spot on. It wasn't red as much as it was paint. So, and also just to showcase the differences between the beams. How does that look? Not bad. Actually, not bad. And for another size comparison, here he is with the NECA official Playmates. Uh, Shin Godzilla Atomic Blast version. I just had a bunch of Playmates figures, so that's why. Um, Placing the beam inside the hole. It's a small hole, so I have to like actually get in there, don't I? Oh yeah, there we go. So as you can definitely see, he's a bit shorter, but only because he's like much more hunched. I feel like if he was standing completely upright, then he would be about the same height. But as you can tell, it's pink versus purple. Take your poison. And for the final size comparison, here he is next to the bootleg NECA Shin Godzilla. Review coming soon. Which, funny enough, he came the day after him. And so overall, what do I think of this figure? He's not bad. I have to give it that. He certainly has a lot of quality given to him, as the dry brushing is really good, the sculpt is actually really well executed, despite the fact that it's a bootleg of a pre-existing figure. The accessories are nice for what they are, and I will say the only like major dud I had with this thing was the head, because it came broken right out of the gate. The jaw does not want to close, and it had barely any movement to begin with, so I didn't really think that was like such a big deal breaker. But it honestly has some nice merit to it. But I must stress that if you are looking for official merchandise branded Toho and or Legendary, do not buy this. This is not an official NECA figure, and this is not an official Toho figure. This will not support them in any way, shape, or form. They are plaguing eBay and AliExpress like a virus. Like a certain, whatever. Basically speaking, just avoid this thing. If you want to support Toho, if you like what you see and you want this thing, and you're not willing to shell out $50 for a Haya figure coming later this year, or that Monster Arts one that's coming also down the line for like an extra $50, almost $100, it's fine. And at this point, it's a gamble as far as like the quality consistency, because let's be honest, bootleggers in terms of quality, it's definitely not their biggest thing. They only exist just to make an extra buck and bank off a big name like Godzilla. But with that being said, it's honestly your choice. Go on AliExpress, $20 before shipping. You can't really go wrong. Or can you? But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you guys liked it, definitely subscribe to the channel. Believe in Jesus, accept him as Lord and Savior today. Spread the gospel. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace, everyone. God bless.